This is Kal Kat, the Kal Kat's Turn. This is a review of Star Trek Change Your World Episode 4, Among the Lotus Eaters. The title is from Homer, the Odyssey. It's from the Odyssey. And whosoever of them ate of the honey-sweet fruit of the lotus has no longer any wish to bring back word or return, but there they were fain to abide among the lotus eaters, feeding on the lotus, forgetful of their homeworld way. Also, it's Alfred Lord Tennyson. Anyway, so Star Trek using another quote from some literature to make them so more impressive. This episode features Rigel 7, who's one of those planets from actually the very first episode of Star Trek, going back to the 64 pilot, the cage and the menagerie, Rigel 7. Back to Rigel 7, the other Kalar of this planet, Forget-Me-Not planet. Cillian planet, early Cillian planet, where they all have some the late form of dementia or Alzheimer's on the planet, caused by the radiation in space. I suppose that's their message there, Alzheimer's is the thing. So we have the captain, the doctor, and con lady go to the planet, and they discover that in a classic Trek trope, we have a crewman that was left behind on this planet, and the planet's in an asteroid field, and the crewman was left behind, and he becomes the ruler of the planet. In a very classic Trek, and very silly Trek, very silly in Realms way. But he's clearly he's an incompetent leader. There's a lot of messages there. You totally could say that too. More of a Weasley character. Very similar to some of the characters we've done in Cillian Realms, and a character that's going to show up next season in Starship. Our version of Strange Worlds. But it's not quite the same guy. It's not supposed to be. It's just that they thought of the same idea. So you're going to see this other story next season and go like, wait a minute, they're ripping off the Lotus Eaters episode. No, they're not. We just came up with the same idea at the same time. It's a coincidence. It's the character of the Cillian character in the story is similar to other Cillian characters before, such as the Madman from the other season. But this is another guy. But it doesn't have any relevance to this later thing because they go in a different direction with it. They banish the captain and the two officers to the ice floes. Somehow they're not being killed from hypothermia. They make them to do slave labor, to breaking rocks. There's this old man who's another Cillian, who wants to go out there and encourage them to get their memories through emotions or something. Go back to the castle and try to get through it. The castle is made of a rock that's from an impact that protects them somehow from the radiation. The science is all over the place. The ship is somehow affected by the radiation as well, in a similar way to the radiation from the radiation belts from that Fountain of Youth planet in Star Trek Insurrection. Yeah, similar to that. But that's probably what they were thinking of in Insurrection as well. But I think TNG went there a couple of times. It was mentioned in Picard's show. It's mentioned, the Rigel is the thing that's mentioned. They like that. It means part of a horse in Arabic. So there's a lot of Rigel stars. There is a blue giant star, Rigel. I wouldn't have planets. There is Rigel Centaurus, or Alpha Centaurus and Beta Centaurus. And it's the closest star to Earth. Can't be that. And then they name all these other different Rigel planets after the giant star and say there's planets in orbit around it, even though the classic Trek, they weren't thinking. They just saw, bright star with a name that's familiar. let's just use that. They use Deneb quite a lot too, which is also another giant star that wouldn't have planets around it. If they were baked. But yeah, it's one of those Star Trek planets, Rigel and Deneb, and then they'll throw out alphanumeric numbers and all that. Sometimes they'll mix them up. Sometimes they'll put the beta after or the alpha after the name, and that doesn't make sense. It's not a constellation called Beta. Beta Z can't be a thing. But oh well. Anyway, XO2 can't be a thing. But something like, Deneb Katos is another Deneb from Deneb. Deneb Elgeti is another Deneb, because Deneb is part of some. Deneb is part of a bird. I think it's a bird, because there's a horse and a bird. Orion, parts of Orion have that other nomenclature as well. So you get parts of Orion as well. Like the Orions of Orion. Which star in Orion are they from? They're from Betelgeuse? Are they from Belacris? What are they from? I don't know. Is Betelgeuse the Romulan star? No. They're Nova. But yeah, actually, it's the star from Blade Runner. The guy from Blade Runner. The space fleets burning on the shoulders of Orion. Anyway, this one is Rigel, 7 planet. But sure, Rigel 7. Yeah, the ship is affected by the radiation too, which is weird that they would be affected at all. You'd think the shields on the ship would stop because they'd been there like twice before, apparently, during the other Enterprise missions. Yeah, and referencing the mission that happened off screen, them going to the planet in the 2250s or so, under Captain April and Commander Pike. That's when that would have happened, before the cage. So yeah, yeah. Among the Lotus Eaters. Lotus is yeah. They're talking about opium in that case, and Tennyson is too. In that case, in the case of the poem, they go to the seafarers go to a place where they forget everything because they're high as shit on opium. Even though technically that would be the poppy, not the lotus, but he's a poet and he's like, yeah, it's the poppy. Poppy is a version of it, I guess, isn't it? Why would that make you forget? That doesn't make sense. Oh well. Homer was being clever too with his alliteration poem. It wasn't nearly as silly. Some of the dialogue, Robert Burnett, an actor from the producer guy, was complaining about about some of the dialogue being kind of sophomorish and goofy and like, silly trick kind of thing. I don't mind that because that's probably, if they're doing a Cillian Realms version of Star Trek The Pike Years, it would be sophomorish and goofy because they're not really technically a Navy. They're these young UN pilot guys, basically. They're pretending they're a Navy, but they're not really a Navy. So there was cultural contamination on the planet. The Prime Directive was being broken. They had this thing going on. And yeah, the dialogue is a little less silly. But if you figure it's Akiva Golden's fan fiction, it's fine. He just gets to get paid for making his fan fiction. Yeah. But yeah, this episode was actually pretty good. They did a good job with it. Some fans might object to the weird linear disassociation of the stuff. They have space dementia. The message is a little weird, but then again, sure, topical. It's fine. It's convenient that at the end they can just turn it off by going into the castle, which is lined with some kind of substance in the walls that stops the radiation. It does beg the question, and they're trying to be scientific, but it does beg the question, didn't they know all this when they came there the first time? that they were going to immediately start freaking out and going, oh, I can't remember. You'd think they would have all of that in their database, and they'd be like, oh, okay, we know what this is. We scanned it, and we're going to beam down and check it out. That would be we'd have to, like, inoculate ourselves from it before we go down there. And then, of course, then you wouldn't have a story. But, there's your problem. So you got to be going in where angels fear to tread, to quote something else. It is funny that and messed up that the Pike character get his emotions back in order to or Ortega is freaking out and knows she's a pilot and runs off the ship, runs to somebody's quarters, and shows up and is on deck 6, and she's like, I'm the pilot. That was kind of funny. So if they ever make a day job spoof of that, take that scene where she's like, I'm the pilot. That'd be pretty funny. But yeah, she was freaking. For what it was, for how it was structured, it was one of the better ones of this season. And you have the trial episode, which was more like an Axanar kind of thing. I was not involved in Axanar. I just played the videos of that and played the videos of Burnett, who was a producer on Axanar. So played the video of it. If you want to go watch his rant about Strange New Worlds, go watch Robert Burnett's thing. I've never met him. Just want to clear that up. But yeah, he's a little unfair to it because it's Keith the Goldsmith's fanfic. So he just gets paid for it. He's a little jealous. Not saying that like if I got to do a Star Trek fanfic and I got to have actual actors, it would probably look a little like Strange New Worlds. So I use the action figures and then don't make a profit, put it up as fan fiction. Then mine's silly, but then again it works. I have silly dialogue episodes where I put them but they're saying interesting things. So if you have plastic action figures, they're saying interesting things. Like, what are we doing here? We're the meme planet where we keep witnessing events over and over again. This is very similar to that episode, Critical Vitriol from the season Strange Worlds episode 2. Yeah. Similar to that one, experiencing things over and over again. But in the sense that they keep forgetting and doing things. But that was a time warp. That was Q. That was different. This is not Q. So that was different. That was different. It was the missing time as opposed to them repeating time. It's more like that previous one with the time travel to Baby Con, which opens up all kinds of cans of worms that doesn't make any sense. The Trek Yards guy was discussing the Baby Con episode and going like, wait a second, how would that even work? It can't work. He can't be Khan. He's got to be one of the augments that was left behind. Yeah, he's like Khan Jr. or Khan the Third. He's not the original Khan because he can't be. He's not him. So if she killed him, it wouldn't do any good. She doesn't know that. Yeah. Actually, it would be bad if she killed him because it descended from her in that timeline. So he's grandbaby Khan. He's not Khan. But yes, he has to be. That has to be who he is. So yeah, see in their timeline, they never launched the Botany Bay in the Strange Worlds, New Worlds timeline. They never launched it. So, and because it never launched, they put them on the Earth instead, and they reproduced and they became the augments. It's connected to Picard season 2 in the folder. So he was the augment. Soong and Singh, they kind of confused those two. Yeah. I don't know how they could. One's Dutch and the other one's Indian. But, yeah. Then again, Ricardo Montalban was playing him originally, and that didn't make sense. But it was the classic track. That's stuff they did. Oh. So, yeah. The Khan lady is injured on the planet. Apparently she has an injury on the planet in this one. They have to rescue her and stuff. And of course, the passage of time that makes no sense, and the medical treatments make no sense. But then again, Star Trek, so sci-fi, so sure. Maybe she survived because of her genetic past, which, sure. We'll let that slide. So, that's my roundabout review of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Among the Lotus Eaters. Of course, in the original story, they were just really, really high on the ship, on the Odysseus ship, and they were just stoned. And they just didn't remember where they were. They were just high. Don't do drugs, kids. Don't do drugs. And next time you go on an away mission to a planet where they have weird psychotropic reactions to planet, make sure you're inoculated from it. Now they might complain, okay, we did another episode that kind of reflects other episodes, but there have been a couple of them that did that. I liked that the totem thing wasn't actually really a thing. It was the guy, the ruler lied about it. It's kind of fun. Which is, because that other part doesn't make any sense. You could have done that. Which is similar to this story. The king guy had lied, you see. Didn't really have. It was the building around him that was preventing the radiation from getting to their heads and cleared their heads, which is the opposite of the poem Among the Lotus Eaters. See, and then anyway. And other people have complained, but Burnett, who worked on Axanar, the infamous Axanar would not really have worked. Actually, now that it's been like years since Axanar, so 8 years or 7, 8 years, it wouldn't have worked. It would have been boring, because it would have been like, okay, we have these actor guys, and they're just discussing the nature of politics and Starfleet and wars and stuff. To 8-minute special, that's fine, but no, you can't make a series out of that. That's not interesting. Then they'll show the space battle, but not actually show them on the ship, on the bridge. That's not interesting enough. So there's the happy medium. There's between the Trekker fans that want to be so set on the canon, and there's the Trekker fans that want to be a little goofy and make a fan film that recommends Star Trek. The difference is night and day in who was doing Picard, for instance, seasons 1 and 2, Ricky Goldsman and the other guy. But then they got Terry Matalas, who actually worked on Star Trek, Voyager, and Deep Space Nine. Unlike J.J. Abrams, who doesn't really like Star Trek, he even said so. And you get Terry Matalas, who's like, I like Next Generation, so I know how to do it, so I'll do that. And the only drawback to season 3 of Picard was it was dark. It was very. They made it visually very dark. Trying to make it serious. It's visually very dark in the corridors and stuff. It didn't have to be. I understand the mood they were setting, but usually, whereas this show is very bright. On the corridors, it's very overly bright on the corridors and stuff. Trying to get away from the Disco Prize stuff. I don't think it had to do with Discovery season 5. I mean, considering Kal has already showed up there twice. But yes, different Kal. But it's not a coincidence that there's a Kal. That's sort of a pseudo bad guy in there. Not a coincidence at all. Well, they filmed that show and this show now in Canada, so I wouldn't notice that. They've canceled Prodigy, but then again, they got to the end. They got to 20 episodes and stopped. So it's, which is probably how I would have done the ending of the Dial of Destiny, the Indiana Jones movie. That's probably how they really should have done it, but I bet that is how they really did it. They did extensive rewrites of that movie. There's a similar ending, you see. Whereas in that one, they rewrote it, so they literally go back into time and visit Archimedes. Not Archimedes. They visited the guy that, Archimedes. Archimedes. And that's stupid. What should have happened Kal Kat version, it should have been more like Raiders of the Lost Ark. It should have ended with them flying toward the anomaly, and then Indy and them crash, and then they're rescued. And the anomaly never took them through time because that's dumb. They said, "Oh, this device really wasn't a time machine at all. It was just the thing." The guy, because of course he wouldn't know time travel. He's an ancient Greek character, historical character. Not really time travel. It's dumb. Which is kind of how they should have ended the last one too. The crystal. That's how they should have ended the Crystal Skull as well. They should have just said, "Oh, we put the skull on the statue," and then nothing happens. And then it collapses because there's an earthquake. Then they escape. The end. So it's not aliens. It's just that there happened to be an earthquake. Oh, that's kind of pointless, huh? Yeah, I'm sure that the other version of Dial of Destiny does not end with time travel. The fact that they did time travel and made it sci-fi at the end is a little silly. Yes. Yeah. But I didn't mind that. But yeah, it does pull you out of the story. It's like, really? Was that a dream? It goes dumb. How did they get back? How did they know how the fissure worked? Yeah. Yeah, they must have changed it in post and said, "No, this is it." Yeah. Probably should have left that out. In fact, you could even go so far as to have them fly toward the fissure, and then Indy wakes up at the end in his apartment. Was it a dream?